Hi everyone, this is a new video of chapter 11, Public Goods and Common Resources. This is a book, Principles of Economics, 7th edition of Gregory Mankiw. So, what we have studied before with the markets, we have seen how the markets allocates resources in a perfect way. What markets try to do throughout invisible hand is to find a price where it maximizes the consumer surplus and producer surplus. So this provides at the end efficient allocation due to prices. And now what we are trying to see here with the common resources and public goods is that there are no prices and there is kind of free access. So the results are not the same as a normal market. So when we saw in the first chapter of this book about the 10 principles of economics, we basically realize the role of the government, how government can take these kind of results that they are not efficient anymore and they try to transform in some way with a better well-being for the society. So we need to first differentiate the different kinds of goods that we can find here in the common resource and public goods. So what we have here, as I said before, the words in the markets where the consumer and producer surplus is what maximized. So we need to figure out some concepts that they are going to be extremely important to understand how the public goods and common resources work. First, we need to define the term of excludability. When we have excludability, is basically when we when is someone is using the good, it exclude to use this good for someone else. As an example, we have a hamburger, so we have a hamburger and you eat it, and automatically you make that someone else cannot eat the same hamburger. So a hamburger is excludable. Which kind of good is not excludable? My videos. For example, now you're listening to me. At the same time, there is another one in another part in the world, and the fact that you're watching, you are listening what I'm saying, you don't exclude in some way the other person. So this is excludability characteristic. The other one, we have rivalry in consumption. Uh, is is basically the property when you a good, basically you use that and diminish the fact of use to other person. So when we have a rival, in this case, the fact that you're using it means that someone else cannot use that. So for example, we got an example, the rival, the same hamburger, because you cannot use at the same time. But for example, in this case we have, for example, another, for example, fishing. The fact that you fish in a lake, it automatically make less fishes for other people. So private goods, they have both characteristic. They're excludable and rival in consumption. And the other part, we have the opposite, which is public goods. These kind of goods, they are neither excludable nor rival in consumption. The fact that you're using, for example, a tornado siren, for example, in a little town, you can you cannot be excluded by that because everybody listens at this siren. And on the other side, the fact that you're listening it, you are not diminished in some way the the tornado siren that other one is listening at the same time. So in this one we can figure out and we can organize these kind of goods in two facts and with yes or no. So we have two main characteristics: rival in consumption or excludable. So we have our table. We have yes, no for each one. So we have rival in consumption and excludable. They are both. So you say that they are private goods. When we have they are excludable, but they are not rival in consumption, club goods. We have rival in consumption, but not excludable, we have common resources. And when we have rival is not rival in consumption, neither nor excludable, we call them public goods. So this chapter we're going to talk a little bit about no excludable goods. So it means common resources and public goods. Which kind of examples? Private goods, hamburgers, sneakers, because for example you are using them, so they are rival. You cannot use the same pair of shoes, and the other fact, excludable because you have to pay for that. Club goods, for example, paid internet, because excludable. Of course, if you don't pay, you cannot access to internet. For example, is rivaling consumption. Now, the fact that I said before you're using is not that the other cannot use at the same time. And congested toll roads is curable. Yes, you have to pay toll in order to go onto these kind of highways, but it's rivaling consumption now because it's uncongested. The fact that I'm using, I'm not making you that you cannot use that. Common sources, fish in the ocean, the rival, yes, because you are taking one fish, other people they will face less population of fish. And of course, congested non-toll roads, they are rivaling consumption because the fact that you put another car there, automatically you limit the space for other people. And includable now because everybody can drive in these kind of roads. Public goods, non-congested park, for example, the fact that you go there, you go to chilling out with your friends, you go jogging, you go biking and riding bike, or you just go and stay there in the grass. It's basically it's not rival because it's not congested, so you can be there, another can be there, so there's not gonna be another problem to be more people there. And the other important tornado siren, as I said before, the fact that you listen, everybody listens, you cannot exclude that someone listens that. So here, it's really important that we know how there is a relationship between this chapter and previous one, because there is a connection between public goods, common resources with externalities. So basically, when there is these kinds of goods that are free of charge, it's something that has value, but you don't pay for it. So, for example, when you have a common resource, could be like the clean air, right? It's not excludable because the fact that you are there, right, is that it does not exclude that you can breathe this kind of air, but it could be kind of rival in the sense that another firm that pollute air make that the clean air is even worse. So the fact this is really close related with the externalities. The clean air is related with the negative externality produced by the firms. So definitely there is like really relationship between them. The problem with these, with the common resources and public goods, is like we overestimate what we have because it's free. You don't know how much you have to pay for it. In this sense, it makes non-efficient result, a non-social, better well-being in this sense. So, for example, a tornado siren, it came from a positive externality. someone put there, everybody benefits for that, so there is a positive externality. Even if you don't pay for that, you are there, so you will benefit for this signal. And fishing is a negative externality, because when you fish, automatically you are reducing the quantity of fish for future generation, future people that they are going to try to subsist. So in this case, this you can see how tornado siren, there is cataloged as a public good. It comes from a positive externality, and fishing, which is it came from common resources. This is a negative it came from negative externality. So public goods, we are going to focus on a good that is really a great example for that. We need to imagine a small town where everybody can see at any place fireworks. So we know that they are not excludable. The fact that you put there, you cannot go there and make blind someone just for avoid looking at fireworks. So definitely we can assume that there is a not excludable good. So it's not possible to prevent someone from seeing that. And the same thing is not rival. One person enjoyment does not avoid enjoyment to another. If you go to balcony, you go to just open your window, you can look at that. There, your neighbor can do the same. It doesn't avoid that you see less or more fireworks. It's exactly the same. It's a public good. There is a free rider problem. This is the fact that is really important here, because a free rider is someone that imagine that in this case we have, for example, the government charge to everybody, or let's say a private provider charge everybody a fee for watching the fireworks. I think that you won't have like too much incentive. You'll say, oh, I don't pay that, I won't see that, so I won't pay. When the fireworks are on the sky, you listen to that, you open your window and you enjoy it without paying that. So this is a free rider, someone who benefits, but he doesn't pay for that. So this is the fact. So for example, in this case, you see how if this is a producer, this is definitely not efficient, because she or he can ask for that, but he never will have the real value for people are willing to pay. So for this reason is where the government appears as a figure of regulating or improving the condition of the markets, because throughout taxes they collect the money for fireworks. They hire this particular person that wants to provide this spectacle. So in this case they can pay for that, and everybody in some sort of way they pay for that, they can enjoy paying that. Okay, so another examples of public goods that are really evident, their national defense. You are just in the United States of America, and if you don't like, or you like anyway, you will benefit from national defense, and it's a really expensive good for Americans, because actually there is not rival nor excludable. And for example, in 2011 USA spent $2,298 per person in national defense. Okay, so this is one famous example of public good. Another one, basic research. So for example, when you have a research, you know that they are protected by patent. So in this case, definitely they are excludable, these kind of goods. But think about theorems, or think about general knowledge. So for example, the theorem of quadratics. So this theorem, I can use that now. It's not excludable. Everybody can access to this theorem, and as well is not rival. The fact that I'm using now, it doesn't avoid that you cannot use at the same time. And other one, in this case, these two basic examples. Another important how to measure this kind of public goods, how to charge that, is throughout cost of benefits. Basically, is you can set, for example, on a highway that you want to the government want to construct. In this way, basically, what we have is that you need to measure the cost of constructing this highway, and you need to figure out the benefits that it will produce for the people in the future. What you will see if you ask to people that they are going to use this highway and they really need it, they are going to overestimate the benefits of the highway. On the other side, when it's someone that never uses this kind of highways and you ask which could be the cost or of the tolls, for example, or which could be the benefits, they are going to underestimate. They will say it's not necessary, so the benefits are practically zero. So what we want to say at this time is that this kind of method to measure public goods cost benefit is really tough. It's difficult to measure, but this kind of way how you can use this particular way to measure. So we already talked about non-rival, not excludable goods. They are called public goods. Now we're going to be in the down corner left of our table, which basically is said about non-excludable goods, and they are at the same time they are rival. So in this case, the fact is that the one uses the good reduce availability of others to consume it. Availability with V of Venezuela, sorry, availability of others to consume it. So in this case, we're going to explain the famous theory of commons. How does it work? Basically, we are in a small medieval town, so imagine that people they can raise sheep and they can use their wool to make clothing. As you know, people they have a vast place to raise sheep. So in this case, sheep stay grazing on the land free due to no one owns the land. So in this case, we can imagine that it's big enough, so this is not rival. So we are in a public good. Automatically, with the time, the population grew. So as a consequence, the land became barren and wool industry disappeared. So it's what we call the theory of the commons. So in this case, why did it happen? Basically, it happened because there are two branches. There is social and private incentives different. From one side, social, they want to have land forever, but private, they want to have benefits from raising sheep. So in this case, we see how it produces a negative externalities. So when there is a externality which is negative or even positive, you need to incorporate this externality into the market, guaranteeing the real benefit for that externality. So in this case, we can think about government that they can regulate, for example, with two ways. First one, they could regulate the number of sheep per family. So you cannot have the sheep as you want. You will have limit of that. Another, which was basically what happened in England during 18th and 19th century, the fences, a simple way to delimit the quantity of land for family in an equitative way, so each person take care for each place. Okay, so it could be the case. So, and examples some examples for common resources. So clean air and water. This is a modern tragedy of commons because more and more and more firms pollute. So we are realizing how which is the damage for that. So we are trying to put taxes, put in this case we're going to put like punish these kind of firms that they pollute more than standards. Another example is congested roads. So at first it's a public good. When you go like really early in the morning, 4 a.m., if you go to different cities, for example, my city, Bogota, Colombia, where we are 8 million of people, if you go with your car at 4 a.m., you will go there. This is a non-rival. This is a non-rival, and this is not excludable good. But the history is really different. The story is really different when you go there at 9 a.m. This is a completely common resource. The fact that you go there, you automatically avoid another car to go there. So in this case, it's another example of common resources. So two basic solutions. Tolls a solution. Actually, we are now thinking about it because you pay for that. If you pay for that, automatically there are going to be less cars, and the problem of traffic jams it can be kind of solved. And think about tolls depending on rush hours. So the tolls there they will function just during the rush hours, making that in the normal hours you don't need to pay for this use of the roads. And the other tax on gasoline, just like with this problem, maybe yes you will face the problems of congested roads, but at the same times maybe some uncongested roads and congested streets that are going to be affected as well because it doesn't differentiate if you pay the gasoline for going to the main streets or you pay gasoline for going to another non-toll streets. Okay, so another example, fish and whales and wildlife in general, because the fact that you go there and you start to fish, you automatically you are decreasing the quantity of fish that another people they can use. So at the end, the main point and the main idea that we have to have now here is that all these kind of problems they are generated in the absence of proper rights. So in the absence where you don't pay for something that you have benefits. So when you don't pay for something that you have benefits, it could be that we are going to definitely we're going to fall in the tragedy of commons, where social and particular desires they are going to different places, to different parts, and at the end we will finally end all the resources and we cannot arrive to the maximization of social well-being. Okay, thank you for watching my videos and see you the next time. Bye bye.